You might recognise this map from an earlier planning video before I departed. I am actually back home for a few days. Boat is now in Milford Haven, although this video is only going to cover the trip from Largs to Conwy. And we've hit some bad weather, so we've left the boat at Milford Haven, probably go back later in the week. Anyway, you will see here my wife has been adding various notes and stops on the way. I've been all the way up round here now, all the way up to the Orkneys and back down through Western Scotland. I don't have my charts, so I'm using this map to explain the last bit, the bit covered by this video. So we got to Largs in the last video, where Jean and I used to live and the children used to go to primary school, and we were going to go from Largs to Girvan, which is down here, but in the end, because of the wind, we couldn't sail that, but we could sail to Troon. So we sailed to Troon here. If we'd gone slightly more angle, then we wouldn't have been able to sail, so it seemed a shame. So we did the shorter journey to Troon, and then the next day, rather than stop, sorry, Troon is up here. Where is it? Troon. It's about there. And the next day, rather than go to Girvan, we set off and we managed to get all the way to Port Patrick. And this is the Mull, or that's the Mull of Galloway. This is the Galloway Peninsula. And we stopped at a little harbour called Port Patrick. Very pretty, very long ladders, no pontoons. We then proceeded down to Peel on the Isle of Man. Good sail that day. And then, although quite a rough entry into Peel, as you'll see, and because we had a northerly wind all the way, so the waves were all going in. And then the next day when it calmed down, we motored around the island and went into Douglas. So we were ready to continue the southern journey down to Wales. Again, some strong winds. And anyway, I'd never been to the Isle of Man, and so we stayed in Isle of Man, I think, for 4 nights. 1 night in Peel, 3 nights down here, maybe 5, can't remember. And we visited most of the island by bus and walking. And then we set off on another great sailing day, and sailed all the way down on a beam reach. The wind was coming from the southwest, and beam reach is when the boat has the wind directly on its side. Best point of sail for a boat like mine. And we sailed down to Conwy in North Wales. That's where we did the crew change, and so that's the bit covered by this video. This is Largs Marina. Note at the end of this footage that the drone was being mobbed by an oyster catcher, and so had to be recovered relatively quickly. We've just departed Largs Yacht Haven, hoping to sail down to Girvan, about 30 miles. New crew joined. Myron, hello, is steering. His wife Avril. We are sailing, close hauled at the moment. We're hoping to get onto a beam reach a little bit later on. Quite gusty wind. See the boat in front quite heavily reefed and heeling. Probably have to stop filming in a minute and start adjusting sails. This is I think the Hunterston Jetty, Hunterston Power Station, power station no longer operating over there.
This is a very posh camera with a very...
Flat posh. We go, sailing without coats on. That is salt coats over there in the distance. Coming into Troon Harbour. Yeah.
Entering Troon Harbour.
We left Troon this morning at 9 o'clock, ostensibly aiming for Girvan. We have little wind. What there is, once again, is from the south, so it's on the nose. However, the seas are smooth, and we're nearly at Girvan already, and so we are contemplating continuing on to Port Patrick on the Mull of Galloway. Well, not the Mull of Galloway, but the Galloway Peninsula. We're just looking over there at Turnberry Golf Course. Belongs to Donald Trump, apparently. It's a bit annoying, but there you go. Smooth sea. Avril sat behind the wheel but not steering, because George is steering today because it's boring, and Myron's asleep. No, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's awake. He's awake.
Over there.
We've got, over here, we've got Ailsa Craig, which is a volcanic plug. Certainly tomatoes named after it, and apparently potatoes as well. And known as Paddy's Milestone, because it's halfway between Belfast and Glasgow. Ailsa Craig, a bit close up, it's about as close as we're going to get to it. Sea stakes increased a bit as we approach the North Channel between Northern Ireland and Scotland, but nothing too bad. We've spoken to the Harbour Master of Port Patrick. He says it's pretty calm there, so we are pushing on and expect to get there before 6, we hope, all being well, which will be my last stop in Scotland. This is Coursewall Point Lighthouse. This is the north end of the hammerhead of the Galloway Peninsula. We've had a bit of a rough hour or two. Winds up to 24 knots on the nose as usual, but now we've crossed Loch Ryan and we're hugging the shore because we've got tide against us, hoping to get a bit of an easement in the tide. Anyway, Coursewall Point Lighthouse. Almost arriving at Port Patrick now. This is the old disused lighthouse, can't remember its name, just about 1.5 miles north of the entrance to Port Patrick. It's an easy landmark. Shame that it's no longer used, but there we are. The sea's been much calmer now once we came around the corner. Still pretty windy, still 20 knots, but the sea's much calmer. So we'll be pulling into Port Patrick in about 20 minutes, quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, and a bit more about Port Patrick when we arrive.
Coming into Port Patrick.
Right, we'll put some vendors out now then.
Here we are in Port Patrick. Absolutely lovely little place, I suspect, but quite interesting as well, because as you can see, it's quite a long ladder to come up. So this is full circle here. Tide's not out yet. Tide's finishes going out about 9:30. Here's Myron coming up the bloody long ladder, and full circle right down there. We've got some Got some nice long. Sorry.
On the phone just to point down there.
No, that's all right. That's good enough. There are a couple of other boats. One just come in from Northern Ireland. Apparently, it's a very, very kind of popular place for people to come across from Northern Ireland. Anyway, it is a rather a cute little place. Well, anyway, we're going to go off and see if we can find something to eat now. The guillemot found a comfy bed. They were nesting in the harbour walls. We've left Port Patrick, and this is about as perfect as it gets. We've got a tailwind and a northwesterly wind, perhaps a little bit more on the tail than I'd like, but I'm never happy, as you know. Blue sunny skies, sailing at 4 knots, just the Genoa because the wind's right behind us, as you can see on the wind meter. Heading for the Mull of Galloway, which is down there in front of us, aiming to be there at slack water, and then heading directly across to Peel on the Isle of Man. And if it keeps up like this all the way, it'll be a very, very pleasant day indeed. We're keeping well inshore at the moment because the tide's still against us, and so we've got a bit of a semi-eddy or slack water closer in, so we're not losing too much speed at the moment, but within another hour the tide will be in our favour for the rest of the trip, and quite a strong tide as well, so anything we're losing here we should make up. So yeah, we're all very happy chappies, and Avril is on the helm. Look at that sky behind her, amazing. I haven't even got a coat on, good heavens. I do still have a base layer on though. Over there is Cramag Head Lighthouse. This is about the closest we will get to the Mull of Galloway now. This is the Mull of Galloway you're looking at. The Mull kind of turns eastwards into the Solway Firth. We obviously don't want to go up Solway Firth because we're heading for the Isle of Man, so we carry straight on. So yeah, Mull of Galloway, the Cramag Head. Goodbye Scotland. I haven't taken my courtesy flag down, and it's not going to get taken down now until we get to the Isle of Man. I'm going up there just to do that. But anyway, goodbye Scotland. It's been fun, even though it's been cold and some contrary winds. It's been nice being here again. This is the Isle of Man. We are approaching Peel. We're about an hour out from Peel Harbour. The first part of the trip was lovely, sunshine, warm. Then the cloud came in and it's cold, but we've still got the wind behind us, at a force 5 I should think, and so we're doing good speed. We're probably half an hour ahead of schedule getting to Peel. So yeah, Isle of Man, place I've never been to before in my life, so this is a first. More later. Coming into Peel, a fishing boat cut us up a bit, which was a bit annoying, caused us to have to go around in a circle. It was meant to be, he was behind us, so he was overtaking us, but didn't keep out of our way. It was the northerly wind had been kicking up the sea into Peel all day, which had helped us down, but coming in it was really rolly. Just watched that yacht come in. Very similar conditions to that we had yesterday. It was really rough coming in. This is Peel, very pretty, exposed to a northwesterly wind, which is good at the moment. And he's going to have to sit out there on that rolly mooring now until 3:30, which is when the sill flap on the marina gate opens to allow boats in and out. We're planning to go out then. We're hoping by then the wind will have dropped, because we're going to make our way to Douglas. The wind noise was too great. Make our way to Douglas was what I was saying. If you can zoom in and watch this yacht bouncing up and down. It must have been most uncomfortable. I said it couldn't get in till 3. We were videoing this at about 11 o'clock in the morning. Peel from Peel Hill and Peel Harbour, and down here you can see the marina where we are currently berthed. Won't try and pick out full circle. Yeah, quiet little marina when you're inside. See the gate at the bridge at the end where the flap sill is. Currently lowish water outside, so can't get out till 3:30. sea settling down a bit now. You can see Mull of Galloway right in the distance. Don't think you're going to see that on the video. And over there, we can see the mountains of Northern Ireland. Well, sat in Peel Marina, bright sunshine, in a short sleeve shirt, and it's 16 degrees. Lush. We just left Peel. We had to wait for the bridge for quite a long time because the tide, perhaps because of high pressure, I don't know, tide was slow making, so we didn't leave till 4 o'clock. We're just going past, this is Peel Hill just behind me. Myron's helming with the engine. We've not put any sails up because the wind is very light, 4 knots. We'll see when we go round and go up the other side of the island. It might be possible to get some help from a sail. Sea's still quite lumpy from the strong northwesterlies we've had for 48 hours, but it has calmed down a lot this afternoon. There were loads of white horses this morning. We're heading down to an island down there called Calf Island, and we go through between the island and the mainland a place called Calf Sound, which is quite a narrow channel, deep. The pilot book says it can get bumpy with the tidal race going through there, but we should be there at about high water, so hopefully slack water. And the pilot book also says that although it might be uncomfortable, it's short-lived and probably worth it to the amount of mileage you cut off. We're not going to be in Douglas till about 9 o'clock earliest, so we're keen to not waste any time. Anyway, a bit more later perhaps. Dreswick Point Lighthouse on the south side of the Isle of Man, just past Castletown. Next place after this will be Douglas, at 10 miles up the coast. Quite a rush of water going past here, tidal race going past the headland, which is holding us up a bit, I suspect now, but we'll get past it in a minute. And then I've got another 2 hours to Douglas, so expect to be in Douglas about 9:30 tonight. Arrival at Douglas on the Isle of Man. 9 o'clock at night, sun's just setting. Just got to come round this headland, and then hopefully they're going to find us a waiting pontoon till tomorrow morning, so we can't get to the marina until they've got a fair rise of tide, 4.4 above chart datum, before you can get over the sill. So that's going to be breakfast time tomorrow, but they've promised us a pontoon somewhere in the outer harbour, and it's pretty calm, so hopefully it'll be a peaceful night. To Douglas. We're going to be stuck on the Isle of Man over the weekend, we know that. Weather's coming in, we've got a kind of low pressure system coming through, so we're taking the opportunity to have a little holiday on the Isle of Man. This down here, down there, is the famous TT track off of Snaefell Mountain. Hundreds of miles an hour, or 100 plus miles an hour. They travel down there. We've missed the TT. TT was in June. On the way down on the mountain railway, we saw the Lac Sea Wheel, which we then went on to go and visit. The biggest water wheel in the world. Lac Sea Wheel close up. The largest working water wheel in the world, used to pump water out of a mine when it was put up in 1865. If you come to the Isle of Man and see Lac Sea Wheel, be sure to bring your National Trust card with you. It seems to get you into Isle of Man heritage visitor places. Okay. Oh, that's a bit weird. So the whole thing's moving because of it moving.
Sorry?
Yeah, this is Douglas Marina. Douglas isn't too bad a place. It's not as pretty as Peel, but it's much, much bigger. One word of advice for people who might be thinking of doing something like this, and that is it can be quite tricky getting your diesel and fuel up here. Certainly northern Scotland and even down as far as here, which I would have thought would have been okay. A lot of places you'd find, say, diesel available, but it's actually in an ordinary kind of roadside garage, and you've got to get cans and get it to the, so that means a can, it means a funnel, it means a spill kit. So there are places that do have pumped diesel. After what I found was that there was very little between Wick and then Kinloch Burvey did do pumped fuel, but then there was nothing really until we got to Tobermory. So and there may be places, of course, I didn't go in that did have pumped fuel. I think Arisaig might do it, but anyway, it's worth doing the research, because even though it says diesel sometimes, it ends up just being by a can. We've just done it here in Douglas. The harbour master was able to lend us 2 jerry cans, so we've now got enough to get to Conwy, and I'm expecting to be able to get a fill up again at Conwy. There's a yacht club here. We went and had a drink there, and we're off on the steam train to some of the other towns today, so that'll be quite pleasant. Had a terrible day. It's absolutely tipped down with rain and blew a gale. It's still windy today, but at least the sun's back out and it's dry. Today we leave the Isle of Man going for Conwy in North Wales. Quite a long trip, 60 miles, about 12 hours, but we've been with the big boys today, or last night. In fact, we had a Navy vessel here just now, but I missed him. He's just left on the other side of the pontoon, training vessel. Yeah, so there's a flap gate on the marina at Douglas, and if we'd stayed in the marina, then we would have been held in until the tide reached a high enough level, which would have been a bit late for us leaving. So we were moved out onto this pontoon, which is the cruise pontoon. So when the cruise ships come in, then the passengers are brought in here to come ashore. No cruise ship at the moment, luckily for us, so we had a Navy vessel on one side, us on the other side, and these 2 big boys came in. Well, that one came in at about 10:30 last night, rocked us all around. That one came in at 6 o'clock this morning, rocked us all around. So anyway, we're off at about 8 o'clock, or just before, off for Conwy. We're 7 hours out of Douglas. This is Anglesey. We are about 2.5 hours out from Conwy Bay. Holyhead is over there. We've had a beam reach all the way down, and have been sailing at a right old rate. Unfortunately, we've also had to have the engine running because we've had a bit of an issue that I will describe to you later. Basically, I need a new starter battery, I think. But anyway, so we're about 2.5 hours out from Conwy Bay. Here we have the North Wales coast from Llandudno Head there, all the way along. You see all the wind farms there, off of Birkenhead, and that's into Liverpool Bay, just about to see mainland. Yes, the distance in between the 2 wind farms. We're early on our tide. We're getting into the Conwy River, so we're proceeding into Conwy Bay. Over here we have the Menai Straits in front of us with Puffin Islands. I'm hoping it's going to be pretty calm out here, to be honest. We're going to anchor from Conwy Bay for an hour, maybe a little bit more, to allow the tide to come in before we try and get up the river to the marina. Yes, we are. It is July the 8th. I was going to swear then. And we are having our first meal outside. But you'll notice coats and hats are needed. Conwy was a lovely place. And we visited the castle, we visited the town, we had a meal there, and we saw some wonderful views. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it.